For decades, if one state embodied the very essence of the American dream, it was California. With Silicon Valley shaping the future of technology, Hollywood exporting culture across the globe, and a booming economy that seemed unstoppable, California shone as the unrivaled star of the Union. But in recent years, that brilliance has begun to fade. The very pillars that once made California untouchable its soaring population, its real estate market, its cultural dominance, are showing cracks that no one expected so soon. Meanwhile, far to the south, another contender is stepping into the spotlight. Texas, once stereotyped as the land of cowboys and oil derricks, is rapidly reinventing itself. Today, it stands as a magnet for new residents, multinational corporations, and ambitious dreamers. What was once considered a rugged frontier has now become the stage where America's next chapter of growth and influence is being written. This shift is not a passing trend. It has the markings of a historic transformation, a realignment of economic and political gravity within the United States, which leads to the question, could Texas truly surpass California to become the #1 state in America? And perhaps even more pressing, what forces are strong enough to convince millions of people, from ordinary families to billion-dollar enterprises, to bet their future on the Lone Star State? In this video, we will unpack those answers, from demographic surges and economic momentum to strategic infrastructure, tax advantages, and energy dominance. We will explore why Texas is emerging not just as a competitor, but as a new symbol of America's future power and prosperity. Numbers often tell the story before words do, and in Texas, the numbers are impossible to ignore. While California has long enjoyed the title of America's most populous state, the tide is turning faster than most predicted. In just a few short years, Texas has welcomed an unprecedented wave of newcomers, swelling its population with families seeking opportunity, young professionals chasing affordable lifestyles, and retirees looking for lower costs of living. These arrivals are not trickles. They're floods. Millions of people making a deliberate choice to cross state lines and plant roots in Texas soil. This growth carries profound political consequences. Every 10 years, when congressional seats are reapportioned, Texas has consistently gained more representation in Washington. While California's dominance has begun to waver, each new seat means not only a louder voice in Congress, but also additional weight in the Electoral College, reshaping the map of American presidential elections. Texas, once firmly identified with a single political identity, is now a battleground where diverse voices compete, creating a dynamic arena that captures the nation's attention. But the implications go even deeper. Rapid population growth feeds into the state's clout on federal policy, from infrastructure funding to energy legislation. It also strengthens its bargaining power with corporations deciding where to invest and expand. As California begins to grapple with population, stagnation, even losses in some regions, Texas is rising as a beacon of demographic vitality. The contrast is striking: one state slowing down, the other accelerating with no sign of fatigue. Taken together, these shifts suggest more than just growth. They point to an inevitable transformation of power. Texas is no longer content to stand in California's shadow. It is positioning itself as the political and demographic heavyweight that could redefine the balance of the entire nation. If population is the fuel of growth, then the economy is the engine, and Texas has been revving at full throttle. The Lone Star State is no longer defined by oil rigs alone. Its economy has evolved into a complex, multi-layered powerhouse that stretches across technology, finance, healthcare, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing. What makes this transformation even more compelling is that it has taken place in just a couple of decades, turning Texas from a regional player into a global economic contender. Corporate migration tells the story best. Over the past few years, Texas has become the relocation destination for companies large and small. Headquarters are being uprooted from coastal states and replanted in Dallas, Austin, and Houston. The reasons go beyond lower costs. Executives cite easier regulations, proximity to skilled labor, and a culture of growth that rewards bold moves. The ripple effects are enormous. Each new headquarters or major facility brings thousands of jobs, new tax revenue, and a renewed sense of momentum. But beyond the headline-grabbing relocations lies another truth. Texas has built resilience into its economy. Unlike states that rely heavily on one or two sectors, Texas draws strength from multiple industries, shielding itself from the boom and bust cycles that once defined its past. Tech hubs in Austin, financial centers in Dallas, medical research in Houston, and aerospace corridors along the Gulf Coast, all of these form a diversified web that can withstand shocks and still keep expanding. The numbers reflect this reality. Growth in gross state product has consistently outpaced the national average, and employment opportunities have surged even in periods of national slowdown. Small businesses, often overlooked in grand economic narratives, have also thrived in this climate, benefiting from lower overhead costs and a consumer base that keeps multiplying year after year. Taken together, these dynamics suggest a simple conclusion. Texas is no longer an economy in the making. It is an economy in command. And as more capital, more talent, and more ambition flow into its borders, the question is not whether Texas can sustain this momentum, but just how far it can push the limits of economic dominance. A state's future is not only shaped by who lives there or what businesses call it home, but also by how easily people and goods can move. On this front, Texas has carved out an advantage that is both geographical and man-made. Positioned in the very heart of the United States, Texas acts as a natural crossroads where east meets west and north meets south. This centrality makes it a gateway not only to the rest of America, but also to international markets stretching into Latin America, Europe, and beyond. Its airports tell the story of a state built for global connection. Dallas-Fort Worth International has risen to become one of the busiest aviation hubs in the world, linking passengers to hundreds of destinations on nearly every continent. Houston's George Bush Intercontinental reinforces this reach with its own vast network, while smaller hubs like Austin Bergstrom and San Antonio continue to expand at a rapid pace. Together, they give Texas an aviation footprint few states can rival, positioning it as a logistical superpower. Highways and freight rail lines add another layer to this dominance. Texas boasts thousands of miles of interstate highways, serving not only its sprawling metro areas, but also connecting major shipping ports along the Gulf of Mexico. Houston's port, already one of the busiest in America, feeds a trade network that stretches deep into the interior. For businesses, this means faster delivery, lower shipping costs, and a competitive edge that multiplies over time. Nor should we overlook the role of the Texas Triangle: Dallas, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio, 4 cities tied together by commerce, culture, and infrastructure. This region alone generates a massive share of the state's GDP, and with ongoing investment in high-speed rail and highway expansion, its interconnectivity is only set to grow stronger. The Triangle is no longer just a local cluster. It is emerging as one of the most dynamic mega-regions in the world. In short, Texas has built more than roads, ports, and airports. It has constructed a platform for influence. By turning its geography into strategy, the state has positioned itself as the meeting point of markets, people, and ideas, ensuring that its rise is supported not only by what it produces, but also by how seamlessly it can share that production with the world. Behind every decision to relocate, whether it's a family packing up a moving truck or a corporation shifting its headquarters, money plays a decisive role. Texas has mastered this equation by offering a tax climate that many Americans find hard to resist. Unlike California and several other large states, Texas imposes no personal income tax. That single fact reshapes the financial lives of millions of residents. A worker earning the same salary in Houston as in Los Angeles or San Francisco will often see more of their paycheck actually land in their bank account. For families, that difference accumulates year after year, becoming a powerful reason to stay. Businesses too are drawn to this fiscal advantage. Lower corporate burdens and fewer regulatory layers translate into savings that can be reinvested in growth, hiring, and innovation. The message is clear. Texas doesn't just welcome business, it incentivizes it. And with each company that relocates, new jobs follow, which in turn attract more workers, creating a cycle that reinforces itself. But beyond taxes, the cost of living tells another story of why Texas has become such a magnet. Housing is the clearest example. While prices have risen in recent years, especially in booming areas like Austin and Dallas, they remain far more attainable than the stratospheric levels seen on the West Coast. For first-time buyers, that difference can mean the gap between renting indefinitely and finally owning a home. For retirees, it can mean stretching savings further without sacrificing quality of life. Everyday expenses add to this equation. Groceries, transportation, and healthcare often come at lower prices compared to California or New York. For many families, the ability to live comfortably without constant financial strain is what turns a move into a long-term commitment. This is why, even as other states struggle with outmigration, Texas continues to absorb new residents at a staggering pace. Yet it is not just about affordability, it is about opportunity. Lower taxes and manageable costs of living create a fertile ground where people feel they can pursue dreams without being crushed by financial pressure. In a country where economic anxiety runs high, Texas offers something rare: the promise of stability combined with the possibility of upward mobility. If there is one word forever tied to Texas, it is energy. From the dramatic gushers of the early 20th century to today's cutting-edge drilling technologies, Texas has written much of America's energy story. But what sets the state apart is not just its history, it is the sheer scale and adaptability of its resources. Texas remains the undisputed leader in oil and natural gas production, fueling everything from household heating to global shipping lanes. The Permian Basin alone, stretching across West Texas, produces volumes that rival entire nations. This isn't just energy, it is influence, shaping both domestic policy and international relations. The significance goes beyond barrels and pipelines. Texas energy has become a strategic weapon in a volatile world. As geopolitical crises ripple across Europe and the Middle East, the ability of Texas producers to step up production provides the United States with leverage that few other countries enjoy. Natural gas exports from Texas ports have become lifelines for allies overseas, ensuring that the state's wells echo far beyond its borders. What makes this dominance even more remarkable is the innovation behind it. The fracking revolution, pioneered and refined in Texas, transformed America from an energy importer into a net exporter in a single generation. Technologies developed here have pushed the boundaries of efficiency, reducing costs while increasing yields. The result is an energy ecosystem that can adapt swiftly to shifts in demand or disruptions abroad. But energy in Texas is not only about supply, it's also about jobs and prosperity at home. Hundreds of thousands of Texans are employed across drilling, refining, petrochemicals, and logistics. These jobs form the backbone of many communities, providing wages that ripple through local economies. Beyond that, tax revenues generated from the industry fund schools, infrastructure, and public services, ensuring that the benefits of energy reach every corner of the state. In short, Texas doesn't just power itself, it powers America, and increasingly, much of the world. That role cements its status not only as a state of opportunity, but as a cornerstone of national strength. For a state so deeply associated with oil, Texas has surprised the world by becoming a pioneer in renewable energy. Far from resisting the global transition, Texas has embraced it, channeling its vast landscapes and abundant natural resources into a new era of power. Drive across the plains of West Texas and you will see fields of wind turbines stretching beyond the horizon, silent giants that together generate more electricity than some countries produce in total. The state's wind energy output now ranks among the highest on Earth, rivaling global leaders. Solar energy has joined the surge. With long, sun-drenched days and open land ideal for development, Texas has rapidly built a solar sector that is expanding year after year. Utility-scale solar farms are no longer a novelty. They are becoming the backbone of a diversified grid. For households and businesses, this translates to cleaner energy and more stable pricing, reducing reliance on fossil fuels while ensuring resilience in times of crisis. What makes Texas unique is not just its ability to generate renewable power, but its ability to balance it alongside its traditional energy dominance. Few places in the world can claim to be both a top oil producer and a top renewable producer at the same time. This dual strength allows Texas to lead the transition on its own terms, leveraging fossil fuels for stability while scaling up renewables for the future. The benefits reach beyond energy itself. Investment in clean power has attracted billions of dollars in capital, created thousands of jobs in construction and maintenance, and drawn global companies seeking sustainable solutions. Communities once dependent on drilling alone are finding new opportunities in wind and solar, ensuring that prosperity doesn't vanish when oil prices fluctuate. Most importantly, Texas has positioned itself as a laboratory for the energy future. The lessons it learns about integrating renewables into a massive grid, storing surplus power, and balancing supply and demand will influence not just America, but the global transition. In this way, Texas is no longer simply the energy state, it is the energy innovator, proving that economic growth and environmental progress can move forward together. When we look at Texas today, what emerges is not just a story of a state on the rise, but of a state reshaping the American narrative itself. Population growth has turned it into a demographic powerhouse. Economic diversification has shielded it from cycles that once made it vulnerable. Infrastructure and geography have placed it at the crossroads of commerce, while its tax, climate, and manageable cost of living have pulled in both families and corporations in staggering numbers. On top of that, its unmatched energy dominance, both in oil and in renewables, has positioned Texas as a cornerstone of national strength and a laboratory for the future. But perhaps the most important lesson Texas offers is that reinvention is possible. Once known almost exclusively for oil wells, ranches, and cowboy lore, it has transformed into a center of technology, innovation, and global trade without losing its cultural identity. It stands today as proof that a state can honor its traditions while building something entirely new. Does this mean Texas is destined to overtake California as the #1 state in America? The answer depends on how you measure greatness. If it is by sheer population, by economic output, or by political influence, Texas is closing in faster than anyone could have imagined a generation ago. If it is by opportunity, the ability of ordinary people to carve out a life with dignity and ambition, then for many, Texas already holds the crown. What is certain is that the spotlight has shifted. The world is watching Texas not as a supporting actor in America's story, but as a leading force that could define the nation's trajectory for decades to come. Whether you see this rise as inevitable or as a bold gamble, one fact remains undeniable. Texas has become the stage where America's future is being written, and its story is only just beginning.